The Great Erasure and the Two-Income Trap. To understand the economic landscape of 2026, we have to look at a number that should disturb anyone currently trading their time for a paycheck. In 1970, approximately 61% of Americans were classified as middle class. Today, as we navigate the mid-2020s, that number has collapsed to just 34%. This is not a cyclical downturn or a temporary recession. This is a statistical erasure of the very foundation of the modern economy. We are witnessing the extinction of the middle, creating a barbell economy where you are either a supplier of capital or a resource to be harvested. The fundamental reason why 2026 is different from any other period in history is that the success script, the set of rules our parents followed, has become a financial suicide note. In 1970, a typical middle-class family had one primary breadwinner and one parent at home. That single income was enough to afford a median-priced home by spending just 25% of their income on housing. They had financial margin, breathing room, and, most importantly, a backup plan. If the primary earner lost their job, the stay-at-home parent could enter the workforce, a reserve income that functioned as an insurance policy. In 2026, that backup plan has been activated as the default operating mode. Over 60% of married couples with children are now dual-income households. We have doubled the labor, doubled the stress, and doubled the commuting costs. Yet the median household is more financially fragile than the single-income families of 50 years ago. This is what researchers call the two-income trap. We have burned our insurance policy just to keep up with the baseline expenses of a normal life. The data shows a terrifying paradox. We are making more money than our parents did, even when adjusted for inflation, but our purchasing power for the basics of stability has been decimated. While wages have merely crept up, the fixed costs of being middle class have exploded. Median home prices have literally doubled relative to inflation since 1970. Healthcare spending per household is up over 600%, and the cost of education has skyrocketed by over 1,200%. This has created what economists now call the high-income poverty trap. In 2026, earning a six-figure salary is no longer a guarantee of security. Statistics show that 48% of people earning over $100,000 a year report living paycheck to paycheck. Even more shocking, 40% of those making over $500,000 annually report having no financial cushion. They drive leased luxury cars and live in prestigious school districts, but they are rich on paper and broke in reality. They have no financial immune system because their expenses have expanded to consume every dollar of their combined earnings. The system is now specifically engineered to target this stressed middle. Banks and corporations use algorithms to identify high-engagement accounts, those who are precisely stretched enough to stay in the system but never wealthy enough to leave. If your balance stays low, you are categorized as a source of revenue through fees and high-interest debt. The middle class is being treated as a crop to be harvested rather than a consumer to be served. In the next part, we are going to perform a forensic breakdown of the fixed-cost arms race. We will see how the competition for good neighborhoods turned housing into a wealth prison, and why the very things we buy to feel middle class are the same things ensuring we never actually build wealth. We will identify the desperation premium you are paying without even knowing it. The fixed-cost arms race and the illusion of prosperity. To understand why the middle class is vanishing in 2026, we have to examine the fixed-cost arms race. In the single-income era of the 1970s, families competed for housing and resources based on one paycheck. When two-income households became the cultural and economic norm, families suddenly had twice the purchasing power to bid for the exact same set of houses in the exact same desirable neighborhoods. The result was not a doubling of wealth, but a massive escalation in prices. Because everyone now had two incomes became the baseline requirement just to afford what one income used to buy. It was a financial arms race where every family escalated their labor, but nobody actually won. They just bid up the price of admission to the middle class until it consumed both paychecks. This is most visible in what researchers call the bidding war for educational opportunity. In 2026, you don't just pay for your child's education through tuition. You pay for it through your mortgage. Because public school quality is largely funded by local property taxes, good schools exist in expensive neighborhoods. Families use their combined dual incomes to outbid one another for homes in these districts, essentially paying a tuition equivalent in their monthly housing costs. Once you are locked into that massive mortgage to ensure your kid gets a decent education, you are locked into needing both incomes forever. You cannot downshift. You cannot go back to one income without losing the house and the school. The trap has closed. This leads to the Desperation Premium. When a household is stretched to 100% capacity with no reserves, they become captive consumers. Banks and corporations can sense a weak negotiating position from a mile away.
If you have no cash cushion, a broken transmission, or a medical bill isn't just an annoyance. It's a financial catastrophe that forces you into high-interest debt or predatory financing. The system extracts a premium from you because you are stressed. Data shows that borrowers under measurable financial pressure pay between 1 and 2 percentage points more on loan products than financially stable borrowers with the same credit scores. You aren't just paying for the car or the house. You are paying a risk tax because you have no margin for error. The numbers in 2026 are staggering. While median wages have only crept up over the decades, the costs of the middle-class baseline have exploded. Healthcare spending per household is up over 600% since 1970. Childcare, which was a non-factor when one parent stayed home, now costs the average American family over $11,000 per year per child. By the time a dual-income couple pays the higher taxes on their second income, covers 2 commutes, and handles the exhaustion expenses of prepared food and convenience services, that second $50,000 income can net as little as times 2,000 in actual profit. They are working 2,000 hours a year for a net gain of $1 per hour. They are trading their entire lives for a statistical rounding error, all while the system reclassifies them as high-engagement accounts, the most profitable customers for banks because they are precisely stretched enough to stay in the loop but never wealthy enough to leave. This has created the high-income poverty trap. We now see a world where 41% of people making between $300,000 and $500,000 a year report living paycheck to paycheck. They have the luxury cars and the prestigious addresses, but they have zero financial immune system. They are rich on paper, but broke in reality. They are part of the new middle class, a group that has traded all of its flexibility and optionality for the appearance of prosperity. In the final part, we will discuss the sovereignty protocol for the barbell economy. I will show you how to build a one-income foundation in a two-income world, why the goal in 2026 is to become un-harvestable by the system, and how to stop playing a game where the rules are designed to ensure you never reach the finish line. The sovereignty protocol and the one-income foundation. The middle class is being erased because it is playing a game where the cost of entry is higher than the reward for winning. To survive the economic landscape of 2026, you must stop attempting to perform middle-class stability and start building structural sovereignty. The goal is to move from being a harvestable resource for banks and corporations to becoming a self-sustaining financial entity. This shift is not just about saving more. It is about fundamentally re-architecting how your household functions. The cornerstone of this strategy is the one-income foundation. This is the single most radical move a dual-income household can make. Most families treat both paychecks as permanent and guaranteed. They build their fixed costs, the mortgage, the car payments, the private school tuition, to consume every dollar of both earnings. They are operating at 100% capacity with zero margin for error. As Elizabeth Warren's research highlighted, this makes them more vulnerable to bankruptcy than single-income families from the 1970s because they have already burned their insurance policy. The second earner is already working. The sovereignty protocol dictates that you structure your non-negotiable monthly expenses so they can be covered by one income alone. This requires a temporary social and psychological downshift. It means living in a slightly less prestigious neighborhood, driving reliable vehicles you own outright, and rejecting the fixed-cost arms race. When you do this, the second income ceases to be survival money
and becomes strategic capital. Let's look at the math of why this is necessary. As we discussed, a second $50,000 income can often net as little as times $2,000 in actual profit after taxes, childcare, and commutes. By downshifting your fixed costs and potentially reducing some of these exhaustion expenses, you aren't just saving money, you are buying back your life. That strategic capital is then used to build your bridge, the liquid buffer that makes you un-harvestable. The system relies on your financial inertia and your lack of alternatives. It extracts a desperation premium from you because you are stressed. By building a bridge of liquid capital, ideally moving past the $20,000 and $50,000 thresholds, you flip the power dynamic. You move from a state of dependence, where you accommodate the bank's fees and rates because you have to a state of optionality, where you evaluate the system's offerings against your own self-funded alternatives. Becoming unharvestable means you no longer pay the risk tax. When you have $25,000 in liquid reserves, you are statistically less likely to default, and algorithms reclassify you from a retail consumer to a preferred entity. You get the lower rates, the waived fees, and the premium service, not because you are loyal, but because you are dangerous to their profit margin. To implement this, you must audit your exhaustion expenses. These are the convenience taxes you pay because the two-income trap has left you too tired to function. The prepared food, the delivery apps, the outsourced domestic labor, these can consume $5,000 to $10,000 a year. By recovering your time and cognitive bandwidth through a one-income foundation, you eliminate the need for these numbing costs. In the barbell economy of 2026, the gap between what you earn and what you keep is where your freedom lives. The success script of the 1970s is a historical relic. It has been replaced by a system that rewards the supply of capital and punishes the supply of labor. If you want to stop being the crop, you have to stop playing the game of appearances. You have to be comfortable being remarkable by internal measures, but unremarkable by external ones. True wealth is not a $500,000 house you can barely afford. True wealth is the silence of a life without financial noise. It is the ability to walk away from a toxic boss or a bad deal because you've already built your own road. Stop trying to survive the extinction of the middle class. Step outside the middle entirely and join the sovereign. If this audit of the collapsing middle class changed how you see your household budget, hit that subscribe button. We are dissecting the hidden mechanics of the economy every week to help you build a life of genuine freedom. I'm Dave, and I will see you in the next one.